It is 3 o'clock, and we will call the Board of Finance meeting to order. And just before we go over the remaining part of the agenda, I would just like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have passed. And Ms. Rogers, if you would now go over the agenda, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So I'm going to present the security transactions. It's mighty lengthy. It's covering a couple of months, June, July, and August, from June 16th to August 15th, and we have a total amount of purchases of $1,085 million. Of course, during this time of year, we get a lot of our tax money coming in. We've also had other securities redeemed, so that makes up this. We're revolving some of our funds to do our purchases. Our redemption for the same time period is $740 million. We had one call during that time period, and also in our Board of Finance, we had the opioid funds. We had that invested for a short term for 6 months. It came due, and we're going to reinvest that for another short term for 6 months until all the rest of the opioid money comes in.
We've heard the report of the purchases and the redemptions. I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion passed.
We went to the Home Loan Bank to extend the duration of the portfolio.
To extend.
All the redemptions were usually in treasuries. And I noticed that as we renewed, we went to home loan banks, and the duration seems to be, which are doing better in, maybe not, I misspoke.
Oh, you turn your microphone on. They can't hear
Yeah, it's a mixture of the
Yeah,
home
yeah.
loan and treasuries in here.
Yeah, sorry,
Yep, okay.
The swap analysis.
Yes, this portfolio is as of July 31st, 2025, and I'm proud to say that our portfolio is shrinking. The parking, we had one of the hedge agreements mature July 1st of 2025. So now we have a total amount of $43 million in notional amount for the parking at a fair market value of $4,157,000. And for the water, we still have the 2002 A water. These are unhedged. We had, back in 2013, did a refunding to take out a lot of our swaps, and this was the only one that we could not at the time get rid of. So as always, whenever we go into the market, we look at this, if there's an opportunity to unwind this swap. So at this point, its market value is $4,764 million. So the total amount of the portfolio is $8,822,686, and compared to the previous month, which was back in May, was $9,292,908. And during that time between May and July, there was about 40 basis point increase in the 10-year Treasury. So the 10-year Treasury in July was at 4.89%.
Any questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda, our financial advisors' contracts will be expiring on September 30th. So I'm bringing to you today contracts that relates to our financial advisors. So the first one is we're asking the board to approve Public Financial Management and Public Resources Advisory Group to serve as the financial advisor for a 3-year period with 2 one-year extensions exercisable at the sole discretion of the city. According to the charter, this board is empowered to approve these type of matters relating to our debt, and which, so we're asking, so at this point, the current contract with PFM is due to expire, like I said, on September 30th, 2025. So we sent out RFPs on July 10th, seeking proposals to nationally ranked public advisory firms as identified by the bond buyer. And in the scope, we're asking them to respond to their advisory experience, the staff experience, the derivative experience, and provide their fee proposal. Of the 4 requests that we sent out, we received 3 responses. We have Davenport and Company located in Towson, Maryland, PFM Financial Advisors, Philadelphia, and Public Resource Advisory Group from New York. Each proposal was evaluated by the Treasury staff and graded on the answers to the specific questions that we had related in the proposal. Each of the firms did demonstrate the ability to provide expert guidance to the city on the related matters of the debt. Our review revealed that the responding firms offer varying levels of advisory experience, and of course there's some cost differences in their proposal. The Treasury focused our evaluation on the general obligation bonds, revenue bonds, and the certificate of participation issues in which the firms served as financial advisors to a public issuer over the past 5 years. We also asked them to respond about their experience in variable debt and swap derivatives. So of the responses, based on our review, so we believe that PFM had the most experience, followed by Prague. PFM has served as our financial advisor for over the last 15 years and has developed a significant institutional knowledge regarding the city's bond issuance, particularly as it relates to the complexities of our utility revenue bonds. In 2023, we engaged Prague to evaluate our borrowing capacities of our tax-supported debt, and we also re-engaged them to give us some updates in 2024 and 25 to assess our new borrowing needs and evaluating our ongoing affordability. And all 3 firms have experience issuing or advising governments within Maryland. After our technical review, the city also looked at the price proposal, and we provided those fees in a summary chart for you. After a thorough evaluation, Treasury Management strongly recommends that we award 2 distinct contracts for advisory services, one for PFM, the other one for Prague. PFM has advised us on matters related to water, wastewater, stormwater, and parking. Prague has advised us on matters related to general obligation bonds. Prague will advise us on matters related to general obligation bonds and certificate of participation. PFM has been an invaluable partner for the city, expertly navigating us through complex issues as it relates to our utilities and environment requirements and our debt coverage violations. Their proactive approach has not only provided essential guidance, but also built trust and confidence among our rating agencies and our investors. Retaining PFM experienced team is essential for our path to a long-term financial strength and stability in our debt management. Furthermore, our collaboration with Prague during the independent review of the city's affordable study has proven to be highly beneficial. They have developed a robust model that will enhance our annual borrowing review. Continuing our relationship with Prague will undoubtedly serve the city well, providing us insight and strategies that are crucial for managing our debt. When it comes to fees, there's variations in the fees. However, we think that they are reasonable The proposal, once again, will span 3 years with an option of 2 additional 1-year extensions. And so I present to you this proposal for PRAG and PFM.
I have a comment.
Excuse
I
me,
noticed in the report
sorry.
that Moody's in July downgraded our water bonds and also put our GO bonds from stable and to on watch. And I wonder if I think that should be noted, and I wonder what the city's plans may be to enhance those revenues.
Okay, so as far as Moody's look at cohesively everything, all the debt that we have outstanding. And right now, our reserves, because we add the utilities in, it puts pressure in their module, in their methodology, is the pressure on the reserve amount. So that's one of the reasons why they gave us a negative outlook on our GO bonds.
Yeah.
Everything else they said, as far as fiscal management,
Yeah.
everything else was good. It's just that when we add everything
Yeah.
together, the utilities cause that pressure on our reserve.
I can speak a little bit further to the Moody's report. Moody's noted a lot of positives in both our utility bonds and the city's GOs. They really just noted one negative, and that was the fund balance in the utilities, specifically the rate stabilization fund. What happened was the city kind of used the rate stabilization fund for its intended purpose, which was to stabilize rates, until it became necessary to increase the rates, which is, of course, a difficult decision, but one that the city undertook. It's not one we take lightly, but of course we did what we had to do. Moody's noted that the fact that we right-size the rates, that we even did that mid-year, is a very good sign. That's a decision that many jurisdictions struggle with and don't always have the stomach for. The fact that we did it bodes very well for the future. The fact that we have a multi-year plan bodes well for the future, and that all indications are that we will rebuild that reserve. They basically said that with all that being said, their own internal metrics say that until we rebuild that reserve, they aren't comfortable having us at their equivalent of a AA at that time. And so that was the reason for the downgrade. From there, they basically said that their methodology is to look at the GOs holistically, and so if there is pressure on fund balance in the utilities, even though the city strongly believes that there is a legal firewall between the utilities and GOs. The Moody's methodology is to say if there's a fund balance pressure in one place, there's a fund balance pressure everywhere. And that was the reason for the negative watch. So the city's strategy is simply to rebuild that reserve in the utilities, which we are now well on track to do with the new rate schedule that we have put out.
Was there a downgrade or simply a change in outlook?
There was a downgrade in the utility, specifically
Yes,
in the
in water.
in water.
And the change in outlook for the GO
But
bonds.
So what it was
the-
downgraded from, it was AA.
It was
To A.
Yeah, it was down. It was downgraded from AA to A. The GO was kept at AA, but the
GO is still AA.
But it was from
GO
stable to...
remains AA, yeah?
Yes.
The-
That's
the
right.
GO
What was water downgraded to?
It was A, single A.
It was
Single A?
It was brought down to single A, and I should note that was Moody's. S&P put out a report around the same time. They kept GO AA stable, and S&P had a utilities report back around March where. Did S&P, what was the S&P rating for the utilities?
They were
It's just the water bond.
double A, and I think one is senior, maybe a single A.
But Moody's put the GOs from stable to negative.
That's right.
That's correct.
And so basically the short of it is that Moody's identified one very specific problem, and that problem we have a very clear solution for, and that is to build back the rate stabilization
And how long
reserve.
will that take?
Well, we're in good company. Moody's downgraded the U.S. government.
That's right. We're going to.
For good reason.
We're better run than they are.
Right. We're going to be building back the reserve every single year. On the 3-year schedule that we're on, the reserve is going to be back to some of the highest levels it's been at by the end of the 3-year rate increase schedule.
Just before Bill, Fred, did you have any other comment? No. Okay, Bill.
Right, but I'm glad that we went with that conversation first, because mine was much smaller scale. I was just trying to get a grasp. The board memo for the financial. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The board memo for the financial advisor and for the swap advisor, they both have little charts with the hourly rates for the staff assigned.
Yes.
But they don't really give you a sense of what the total expected value of the contract is going to be. Like, do we have that in the contract we sign with them, like an upside to what we will spend?
No, because it's based on,
Activity.
and normally we use them when we issue bonds, so we'll get a invoice for that. Ongoing evaluations or conversations, we don't get. Normally, our conversations or discussions with them is around debt issuance, so that's when they bill us.
How would we have a sense? Because I'm seeing like the hourly rate for the senior consultant for Prague is $25 higher than the other two, and the hourly rate for an analyst at PFM is $25 higher than the other one. But I don't really have the perspective to know what does that end up meaning in terms of how many hours of each level of thing do we usually ask for or do we usually use? So is using the two of them rather than Davenport, is that going to be spending $10,000 instead of $9,000, or is it going to be spending $1 million instead of $750,000? Is there a way that we can get a sense of the perspective of these choices?
Well, what was the total cost
so-
in 2020?
Yeah, like how
So-
much do we spend?
So let me look at the GO bonds. We use them. So basically, they will bill us when we issue the bonds. And I think the GO bonds was. Let me look at the.
That's the way we lawyers bill. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So Janelle,
And we expect you to pay it.
I'm not quibbling over that. I'm just kind of trying to put it in perspective.
Yeah. So I don't have the number that you're looking for.
Is that something you can send?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
Yeah, it doesn't change
Yes.
the outlook here. I'm just trying to put these kind of contracts into perspective.
so my questions with the next 3 agenda items was one and the same. And it's not something I think we have to guess at. It's something that can be brought to us at another date. So, and I do believe that that's a very important point, and it becomes more important when we get to the third vendor in your agenda. So, but one question that I have, and this is really for all 3, and it really deals with the procurement process, and I know that you all know the makeup of the teams, and you have experience with each of their teams. Something that on a national level we wouldn't talk about is DEI. My question relates to 2 things. One is local talent? How are we assuring that we're also involving or considering locality? So as an example, one of the firms is maybe of the three different items. One of the firms is in Texas and does a lot of work in Texas. Are we looking at something like that to make sure that not only are we getting a good price, but that we're also looking at capacity building locally? And I would just add, I have the same level of questions as it deals with DEI. And I'm not calling it DEI, but I'm just wanting to make sure at one time we would make certain, even for professional services, that we would look at WBE and MBE. Don't see any reference or conversation. Doesn't mean that we haven't considered it, but I don't think we should shy away from it either, as far as stating how we looked at the qualifications.
Okay, so far as Prague as well as PFM, they do have equal representation of women that are on a contract. PFM, for example, one of the senior manager is a minority that's taking the lead. So we looked at that as well.
And I have to tell you, I knew you did. I just wanted, I don't want us to be silent about what you all look at when you are selecting one versus the other. And I would still like your thoughts on locality. So if there was a Texas firm and a Maryland firm, if we're in certain dollars, do we look a little closer at the Maryland firm?
Of course, we look at home, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to just comment two more things. One is I noticed Prague has experience with respect to TIFs, and I think it's good to have somebody else that we can have available if needed to also evaluate what Municap comes up with respect to our TIFs. That's a very important issue from us from time to time. And I'd also like to note that a lot of very prominent citizens subscribed to Renew Baltimore, where we were going to cut taxes, property taxes for half over 7 years. And given these numbers, it would have been a disaster. And I'd just like to make that note, that hopefully we won't face that problem again.
My question's, I do have a question, actually. It's a bit ancillary to that, which is Prague built a model of the city's finances and is largely on the basis of that model, or an important factor in approving Prague, and was their model suggested that we could expand our GO bond portfolio, and we had a lot of flexibility. Well, we've been operating under that model now for almost a year.
Right.
How have they done? How good has that model been as a predictor? That was a lot. I mean, they presented a very compelling argument.
Absolutely.
But it was their model.
And that's correct. So they did do a refresh when we was looking at the TIF, the citywide affordable TIF. So right now, they based the numbers that they had based it on was for FY24. They still holding true. So we now have to, look at the numbers as we finalize our 2025 audit. But so far, yes, everything is holding.
So we'll have some sort of report on that.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I'd say in the refresh that Prague did for us, basically everything was kind of spot on what the original projections were. So yeah, we'll be kind of happy to share it with the board, but so far everything is just moving right along projections.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the requirements, remember the board said that each funding for the capital budget, that we always look at our numbers to make sure that what we're giving to planning is sustainable. So we'll,
Yeah.
that's part of the model, yeah.
Yeah. I commented earlier that I noted that one of the co-managing directors has her degree from Warsaw University in central planning.
Yes, that would have been a course of study in that era. Yeah.
And any other questions before we entertain a motion?
Was this an observation?
I want to just to make
Correct.
one very, very quick clarification to a discussion we had earlier, since we're in a public meeting. We talked about the city's credit rating, and we talked about the water utility being lowered from a AA to a single A. Just wanted to clarify, it actually wasn't lowered a credit level, it was just lowered a notch. It was.
That's what I thought.
That's right. It was lowered
I
from
pay attention to those things.
the senior debt was lowered from a AA2 to a AA3, and the subordinate debt
Yes.
was lowered from a AA3 to an A1.
Fred thanks you for that,
Because
because it was an important point. No, appreciate it.
Not a, that's why I specifically
It's
said,
just
was it a
it
downgrade?
was a notch, exactly. Yeah.
It
and-
wasn't a downgrade.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
just a notch.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions before entertaining a motion? Just before the motion, I would like to recognize how well the write-up was.
Excellent.
And for each of these items, you all provided us with sufficient information to feel comfortable to move on a vote, and I think that's important.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion on approval of the financial advisors. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passed.
Okay. So the next item is for our swap advisor. Same terms for the contract, 3 years with 2 one-year extensions. So right now, our swap advisor is Hilltop Securities. And so and their contract will expire September 30th. So on July the 21st, we issued the RFP requesting proposals to 5 firms. We had responses from 2, Hilltop Securities, which is located in Dallas, and Greenland Risk Management, located in Dallas, Texas as well. Our review showed that both of them do have the qualifications that's necessary to advise us on our swap portfolio. And so we provided, once again, the compilations of the fees. Greenland Risk is much lower than Hilltop. So after looking at these, we recommend the selection of Greenland Risk. We have worked with this company, with the individuals that employed with Greenland when they was with Hilltop. So we are confident that they will provide us with the same level of quality of services that they did when they was with the prior firm. The city also, as we go along, as I stated earlier in our portfolio, where we're down to 2 swaps. So at this point, we don't need extensive interactions with our advisors. So we believe that we use them on a monthly basis for our mark-to-market and in our end-of-the-year requirements for our GASB and our FASB reporting. So we think that they will be able to provide us with the guidance that we need to manage our portfolio.
Now, are we planning more swaps?
No, that's not, no.
So we're just planning what we're going to do with the 2 we have?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
terminate them, hopefully.
Yes.
The interest rate goes down. It's just a bet.
I can remember when we entered into those swaps.
Yes,
Louise Green was in your position.
yes. We
A
have
lot-
over $1 billion in
A lot of
swap.
hospitals in Maryland really, Fred, a lot of hospitals in Maryland really got screwed on those swaps.
Yeah, well, yes. Arnold and I are quite aware of that. Look, swaps are very complicated, and I'm not, the entity that I worked for, still have an office at, we entered into very large swap contracts. And what surprised us is our advisor ended up being, in all places, Texas. And we went to a variety of counterparties, and they recommended 4 different firms, and all of them were in Dallas or Fort Worth. So I have no idea why, but
Let's put it
Texas
okay.
was not surprised. I do have a quick question. Who negotiates the ISDA for the city?
The city does. So we have, well, it will be the advisor will help us determine the terms of our ISDA, yes.
Okay. So it's not our law, is that our law department or not?
So just for the record, most people would not know what those acronyms stand for.
Oh, ISDA is the legal agreement.
Right.
Right.
That encompasses the
Swap.
rules for the swap.
You pay my
And
interest, I'll pay
it
yours.
usually, negotiating an ISDA usually you can do a swap over the phone in 10 minutes. To negotiate an ISDA can take 6 months.
Correct.
And I just
Yeah,
wondered.
so it's between our financial advisor and also the bond counsel as well for the swaps.
So it'd be Greenland?
It'll be Greenland as well as whoever our bond counsel is on the deal at the time.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah.
Any further questions, comments? I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the swap financial advisor.
I move it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passed.
Thank you. The next item is looking at the fees that we're charged from our TIF advisor. So the last time that we actually considered a rate increase for MuniCap, which is the original,
Kaufman Hall, Mark Hall and Kaufman Hall.
I did have one question right up front, because unlike the other two made reference to putting out an RFP, getting multiple submissions, and this is why we're recommending the one we're doing. This one, when I read closer, doesn't say that. We appear to just have been using MuniCap for 24 years, and there's no reference to when it was last or ever put out for RFP. Is that just something that's not mentioned here, or have we not been putting these out for RFP?
so for MuniCap, we had not, because in the midst of, so you know how complicated our TIF program is. So we, as in the Department of Finance, just found it wise to stay with them, because right now we're going through this, the large one, the city affordable housing, right? So to have someone come in the midst of us to take over that program and understand all the intricacies of each of our TIF deals, it's
I would imagine that would give MuniCap a heck of a leg up in a transparent, objective, open procurement process, but to never, I mean, we're always going to be doing something.
Right.
So that, by that logic, does anyone here know how they got picked in September of 2001?
Yeah, it wasn't, it was a RFP that went out
Okay,
in
so-
2001.
okay.
So they wasn't just,
Not
yeah,
even
it
I was
was,
on the board then.
yeah.
I was like, none of us should have been here. But yeah, but so if we did an RFP for them then, the idea, I mean, and I'm not picking on you because this is just it comes with the desk. Like all agencies would deep down prefer to just keep working with the companies that they're already working with if they've put together a good working relationship with them, but the city as an entity has responsibilities to a procurement process, and we're supposed to be putting everything out for competitive bid unless there are specific reasons why, somebody is the only possible provider of a service we need. So I'm not sure I'm hearing a justification for MuniCap being a sole source contract. And so now this is where I'm looking at Michael to see if maybe we should pause this and have somebody else look through to see whether there are criteria under which they do meet the qualifications of that, or should we be putting this contract out for bid, in which case what's involved in doing that, and does the contract we have with MuniCap allow for a level of extension to keep us working with them while we're putting it out for bid?
So just, I'm not going to call it a point of order, but hearing your point, which I do believe is a valid point, I just think it makes it a B part of what we are attempting to do. The first is the approval of the change in the fee schedule, and I think that that's totally separate. And then I hear under new business a recommendation
That's
that
utterly
we
fair.
would consider looking at
'Cause
putting
doesn't-
this out on bid.
This doesn't extend the contract.
Correct.
This is just outline, okay.
Yes.
Yep, that's, so when does our contract with them run through?
This one is an evergreen contract. There is no end to that contract.
We're seeing an actual written
Right.
contract between the city.
Right.
And MuniCap?
So
So-
I cannot speak with authority.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is the point where I'm hearing my other lawyers saying, I think that this conversation has extended to the length it needs to for this matter, and I'm gonna withdraw my comments because they're not germane to the actual item,
Okay.
as the chair pointed out, and I'm going to let the conversation continue for the actual item, and then perhaps we can have a conversation offline about the topic that I was concerned.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
offline. We're just going to push it to other
Okay.
business. So
Can I just add one point, Zach?
I think you have to come up and,
Excuse me, would just,
and I know you need no introduction, but it would be
Joanne
good.
Levin, Law Department. I would just make the point that MuniCap, as to your earlier point about hiring local companies, that MuniCap is a Maryland
Yeah,
firm. And I don't believe that this is a very, what do I want to say?
Esoteric.
Esoteric was the word I was
everybody
going
who
for.
responded for the swap advisor was from Dallas.
Right. So I guess I would just make the point that it would be, I think, at the moment, we are mid-transaction, and it would be a mistake to obviously sort of switch horses mid-transaction, for sure. And I would also just add in their behalf that they are indeed a Maryland firm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bill,
But
what's important to me is we have somebody that can evaluate what they're coming up with. Because, they're so interested in doing these deals, because that's what they do, that I think we should have an evaluation for what they're
yeah,
implementing.
and Bob, we are not, again, we're going to have some time to have that direct discussion. I just wanted to make certain that everyone understood that today it was the request of a change in
You want
the
us-
fee schedule.
You want us to shut up? Okay.
No. Delay, defer. So any more questions about the fee schedule? And if not, I would like to entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That motion passed. And just wanted to now move to other business. And because it is other business versus new business, I would like to offer to Comptroller Henry the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then I think the best way to sum up at this point is if my office and finance, particularly Treasury Management and Procurement, could have a conversation
Yeah,
at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. So, and since we're now in kind of the right section of the meeting, let me just go ahead and sort of respond. I think that the Comptroller raises some great points. I think that we certainly have to balance between where we are in the process of the TIF right now versus the fact that, yes, we always want to be using a competitive process even when it's difficult. And Municap's, that contract seems to be a little bit of an outlier, and that in itself merits review. So I'd be happy to engage that conversation. Yeah, I think it's worth looking at. It's just a question of when.
Yeah.
And just so that we're not just leaving this to a comment, I would dare say that it need to be on the agenda in some time period to officially request a RFP for the tax increment financing advisors discussion. While I'm speaking, I'm going to go back to Bob, but I would just say, as we are looking at it, that that it is very essential that we also remember, and I think that may be one of the TIFs that's in play, is we just several months ago approved the citywide TIF, that we just want to make sure we keep that in consideration, because again, it was unique first time we did that, and we would want some type of continuity.
Very tricky bond issue.
We were on the cutting edge with that. I hesitate to say the bleeding edge, but we were certainly on the cutting edge.
It's not the bond, it's the implementation of it. And there is a real problem in the city, particularly with the permitting process, because it's going to require a huge amount of permitting. And it's the implementation the city's really got to get hold of.
We'll be coming to the board in, Janelle, what is it? I think the plan is October, if I'm October, to present the first tranche.
Well, look, I think this is easy enough to do. Just find out who, and we know there are a lot of municipalities similar to ourselves who issue TIFs. Just call them and ask them who they use. That's got to be
This was a unique instrument, though.
No, but I'm talking about in general.
For the RFP
In
purposes.
general, to Controller Henry's
Oh,
point.
certainly.
it's,
We wouldn't struggle knowing how to do a competitive process. Like I said, the question is really just when to pull the trigger on it, and yeah. Mhm.
I think on record, the Controller Henry's comments are well taken
Absolutely.
and supported, and we will follow up as to the timing of when we take a deeper look. And it's not the board that's going to do the work.
No.
We're gonna look at the work that's
Ideally, it
been
wouldn't even
done.
be you. The procurement does this, that's their job.
Okay.
Is the annual TIF report due fairly soon?
In November.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, it's not very-
that's not going to interfere with
No,
what
no,
we're
no,
talking.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, it's a good reminder that that should be in the scope of the RFP, is that, they should be prepared to be helping Treasury Management do an annual report. Yeah.
So,
Thank you. That was just for comment purposes. No need for us to take a motion. And now the other business of reviewing the 2025 GEO bond sale update.
Yes. So, happy to report that the city that we did competitively sold our 2025 general obligation bonds we priced it on July 23rd, and we closed it on August 6, 2025. The winning bidder was J.P. Morgan Securities, and for the 2025 A bonds, and for the 25 B series bonds, it was Wells Fargo. The proceeds will be used to finance various public improvements for the city and also to pay the cost of issuance. The city pledged our full faith and credit behind these bonds, and they are being payable from our taxes and other general fund revenue. The bonds were sold in $5,000 denomination. The interests are payable April 15th and October 15th of each year, and the first interest payment will be due October 15th, 2025. We were able to sell a par amount, combined both series of $100,770,000. Also generated a combined premium of $3,682 million. So in the combination, the amount of proceeds that was raised, we will be able to fund $103,745 million in projects. We have cost of issuance of $280,000. We have underwriter's fee that we paid out of the proceeds, and then we have a small amount of excess fees of $4,869,000, which will flow into the general fund. The bonds were rated at AA for Moody's and S&P. And so I gave you the sources and uses report, and the tick on the bonds were for true interest costs for the Series A bonds was 4.269%, and on the B bonds is 5.25%, or aggregate of 4.94%. Total debt service is $167.2 million. Our annual debt service will be around $8 million. And so compared to this bond series, this financing actually covers 2 years because we didn't issue in 23 or 24. So compared in 22, our debt service was around $4.8 million, and our true interest cost was a combined 3.67. So we'll be paying slightly higher in interest, but the fact that this series does cover 2 issuing periods, and we'll go back on our spring cadence of 2026. We'll be back in the market to issue bonds.
Yes.
These are all 20-year bonds?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Do you ever, I was going to smile at this question, but Do you ever get a report from the underwriters about who the bonds ended up with and what was the demand for the bonds? And
Not this series of bonds, but I know a couple of them, prior years we had.
I think it's a great idea.
at Mahifa, we issue a lot of bonds, more than the state of Maryland. And our financial advisory firm, which I think is
PFM.
PFM,
Yeah.
provides us, after a bond sale, with a detailed report on how much, what was the demand for the bonds, how much it was oversubscribed, who bought the bonds.
But that's on the negotiated deal.
It's something that
It's
This is competitive.
competitive. It's competitive.
This one was competitive.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what, we're saying the
But
same.
it would be good for us to see it,
We're saying
right?
Yeah,
on competitive deals, we see that kind of
At
detail.
The chairman's meeting monthly, when we sell bonds, and we sell bonds, hospitals, schools, universities, in Maryland and the district, we get it's a useful report.
Yeah. And also talk about whether there are any resales.
Yes.
So that it just tells us a little more, and because we do it, we also know that the end user it's beneficial that we know that they've been taken care of and all of the due diligence is there.
And PFM routinely does this, and I think
And
should ask.
and it's
Yeah, because I know we had reports on negotiated sale, but not really our competitive sales, like
No, but this is
oversubscriptions and stuff
post-sale,
like.
and this is the results post-sale, and they usually
and it's a public.
compare us to what other issues are in the market.
Yeah.
For example, if at the time we were selling double A's, and I don't know who else was selling double A's, they will show us, say there were 4, they will show us how we did compared to the other 4.
Okay.
I think I think it's very useful for governance, but also
it's something we-
believe that
We should-
we can send you a copy since it is public record.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but
Thank
it
you.
would really give us something to chew on.
The termination of the utility for,
Yes, and the last item was just
Most of
an
them are
update
bought by T.
of,
Rowe Price.
Well, you'd be surprised. We get a breakdown, and that's not always the case. You would be surprised who our bonds end up with.
Well, in any event, that's a different discussion. I'm not sure I would be.
the last item on the agenda.
yes, it's just informational purposes only, no actions
but then
required by the board.
that'll
And I
amount.
just want to update on a transaction that we did behind the scenes.
They make the market.
So the city had entered into a debt service forward delivery agreement on our 2013 bonds, and we terminated the agreement on August 1st, 2025. This agreement was between Wells Fargo Bank, M&T, and the city. The city had previously issued 2020 B bonds on December 2nd, 2020, and those bonds will partially refunded the 2013 bonds. The agreement remained in effect until those bonds were paid off. And so when we did the partial agreement, it was 3 maturities that had continued to exist when we did the previous refunding in 2020. We have now completed the final payment on those bonds, resulting in the need to cease the funding of our escrow account. If the forward delivery agreement stayed in place, we would have been obligated to comply with the deposit agreement, which is outlined in in the agreement. So at this point, I just wanted to let the board know that we terminated that agreement, and any proceeds that were left in the account will be forwarded to the new refunding bonds of the 2020 B bonds.
Okay.
So,
Any questions? Thank you. As noted on the agenda, our next board meeting is September 22nd, but prior to adjourning, is there any other matters to be brought before us today? Hearing none, a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
It's second, and it's been moved in second. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.